SilkSong is a game where you're kidnapped and after you break free you decide to go to church. You are now a SilkSong lore expert. Congrats! It united us in its development and divided us in its release. Debates over whether it's too hard or not are rampant on social media, as are posts pretending that Hornet is attractive even though she has the physique of a stick figure. Let's cut through the noise and get good discourse to see what the game actually is. I'm Boss Door, this is SilkSong, I appreciate you being here, let's go. Does SilkSong have issues, or do people have skill issues? Well, regarding the former, some of the problems might come down to the genre itself. It's a Metroidvania, and with that comes all the highs and lows that entails. SilkSong's kind of a unique case, though. You might get helplessly lost, like other games in that category, but at least you won't be for long, because even if the main path forward eludes you, there is so much to do in this game you'll likely stumble into something shortly. There are multiple towns, each with their own quests, many of which involve fighting enemies local to the area before talking to a funny NPC. I doubt anyone at Team Cherry actually knows what a bug sounds like. When you're not doing side quests, you'll be taken on a whistle-stop tour of SilkSong's gargantuan world. There are places in SilkSong so big they have their own fast travel system unique to that area. To truly see everything, you'll have to get curious, and why shouldn't you? There's so much stuff to find. This ain't one of those titles where there's only 2 different collectibles. What you find could be anything: a health upgrade, a new material, a tool that expands your arsenal, maybe even a new NPC that sells stuff. I know that sounds like some by-the-numbers video game stuff to find, but truly SilkSong is the most feature-rich Metroidvania I've played in some time. Obviously, I'm not the only person playing it right now. As of the time of writing, the peak concurrent player count has reached over 500,000. To put that into perspective, this is the amount of times you have to hit most enemies before they die. Mobs are absurdly tanky. Not all, but a lot, especially early on. The game fully expects you to take advantage of Hornet's more agile moveset. Enemies can dive long distances, shoot tricky projectiles, and swing giant weapons the Knight can only dream of dodging. Agility isn't the only thing at your disposal, however. You'll have tools and various upgrades you accumulate throughout the world, like pins you can throw or general damage upgrades for your needle. It's fun even if some of these tools require more maintenance than a fitness regimen, such as the flea juice that has to be restocked at one of the caravans. Seriously, the build craft in this game is surprisingly deep. Not only do you have multiple offensive and defensive tools you can equip, but there's multiple fighting styles you can use in the form of Crests. These change your entire moveset. If the diagonal down pogo attack isn't your thing, you can equip the Wanderer Crest, which basically makes your attacks the same as the last game. I was always especially excited to find these candle-ridden temples because I knew there was a new moveset waiting at the end. Some are really unorthodox, like the Beast one, which swaps your traditional healing with a Bloodborne-style attack to heal kind of thing. By the way, standard healing has been changed. After accumulating enough silk from attacking enemies, you can heal 3 health at a time, and even do it in the air. Which is useful because a ton of enemies in this game can 2 or 3 shot you by sneezing in your general direction. Gone are the days of face-tanking your way through the forgotten crossroads because you don't feel like fighting anything. You engage or die. You can fast travel if you'd like, though I don't always trust Hollow Knight fans when they say the term fast travel. What they actually mean is slightly faster travel. Imagine if the entirety of New York had only 2 subway stations on either end of it. Well, Hollow Knight fans might refer to that as fast travel, which is silly because you're still doing a lot of walking. SilkSong seems a little bit better about it though. Don't expect to be able to warp between benches, however. Visually, what is there to say about SilkSong that you haven't heard already? As evident by the footage, the game is beautiful. Cones of light cover moss-matted fields, fog shrouds time-worn towns, and empty chapel halls long for worship. The faded world of Hollow Knight might be bleak and desolate for its inhabitants, but for us it is a visual treat, what with its dense caves and busy foregrounds. There's just so much detail in every area, and it's a good thing it looks as great as it does because you'll be seeing the same areas a lot. The reason development took 7 years is because that's how long it takes to walk back to some of these bosses. I don't mind that these bosses are hard, I don't mind that they're all over the place, I don't even mind that most can kill you in 2 attacks. They are for the most part very fun fights. even if one of them did break my heart in the final phase, that's a whole other thing. My issue is that the trek back to some of these bosses between attempts are absurdly massive. There's no Stake of Morocco equivalent from Elden Ring if you were wondering. Not all the treks are terrible, as some of the bench placement isn't bad, but there are some really good fights that left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth on account of the commute, even if besting them was elating. The feeling of excitement I had in the first Hollow Knight on seeing a boss was partially soured in SilkSong, as each time I saw a new one, I knew that unless I beat it on my first try, I'd have to endure some of the most egregious backtracking I've seen in a game like this. Of course, SilkSong is not a game where you're supposed to beat a boss the first time you fight it, so this is an issue that will affect all players, obviously. There's a lot of debate over this guy in particular in terms of difficulty, but honestly, I wouldn't have minded the fight if I was within reasonable walking distance between attempts, because watching yourself calibrate to these bosses and seeing yourself ascend from living punching bag to seasoned duelist is very rewarding to experience. Some bosses seem downright insurmountable the first time you fight them, but before you know it, you're reading their moves like it's Evo. Except for that arena thing in the chapel with the two giant dudes, that part sucks. As I said before, there's been a lot of talk over whether this game's too hard or not. Git Gud style discourse has made it very hard to have productive discussions about video game balance. Personally, I was frustrated at first, but as I became accustomed to what the game expected of me, it wasn't so bad. Maybe the early game could be tuned down a bit, but I got through it, and I'm far from the best Hollow Knight player, so I imagine others will be able to get through it too. Depending on who you ask, a huge problem has returned from the previous game. Buying maps in this game is like building a PC. If you don't have all the parts, it's worthless. You need the map itself, of course, and the markers for each point or person of interest need to be purchased individually too. On top of that, each area in and of itself needs to be bought. This is how it functions in the original game as well, and while it can be rewarding to finally have a finished map in your hands, I suspect a lot of players are going to be annoyed at this design choice, even if the map maker has a decent singing voice. The maps are not the only thing in SilkSong gated behind currency. Far from it. Apparently there wasn't enough stuff to spend the geo on in the first game, so Team Cherry drastically altered things. There are doors in this game that charge you for looking at them, for God's sake, and benches that charge you for a one-time use. This is certainly less of an issue later on when enemies are throwing rosaries at you like you're pole dancing, but damn, sometimes it feels like the game's withholding video game fundamentals just for the sake of it. On one hand, this keeps currency relevant throughout the entire playthrough, and on the other, it feels like an unnecessary obstacle to enjoying the game. I imagine players will be divided on this design choice. If you ask me, I hated it at first, but later on did start to appreciate that it kept rosaries relevant throughout the game. There's even a weapon that fires them. If all of that sounds like mean design, it's because it is. That's a recurring theme in SilkSong, mean design. There's benches that are secretly traps, floors that will give out right after completing a tricky challenge, and projectiles that will follow you to the ends of the earth. In many ways, SilkSong is to Hollow Knight what Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels is to Super Mario Bros. A mean-spirited but fun continuation of what came before. Some will hate that, and understandably so. Be sure to know what you're getting into. At least it'll sound nice while it's bullying you though, because the soundtrack has the same ominous orchestra we've come to love from the first game, and it accompanies the action perfectly. You'll probably hear it in the background of SpongeBob video essays for the foreseeable future. Let me ruin the surprise for you. Hollow Knight SilkSong is a fantastic video game. As for whether or not it lives up to the insurmountable hype, well, that's gonna come down to the individual. Personally, I'd say that in situations like SilkSong and Cyberpunk's, almost no video game can live up to such an expectation. The hype ominously building over 7 years is enough to reach supernatural levels that can't feasibly achieved in video games outside of rare cases. But it is a huge and fantastical video game, even if its difficulty will dissuade some. Fun fact, the devs actually revealed what Hornet is saying when you click the right thumbstick in-game.